Hello, my name is Karen Dennis Collar. I'm a clinical social worker and the psychosocial services director at the Masonic Cancer Alliance. This video is the fourth in our resilience practice series. We will work together today on learning skills to help us recognize and acknowledge our emotions. And so as a reminder, these skills come from the 10 Facets of Resilience series, which comes from our partners at Turning Point. Today, we'll be talking about emotional expressiveness or emotional acknowledgement. Emotional expressiveness is about having an awareness of our emotions and then having the ability to process them effectively. So as we get started, I want to start by really just thinking about why do we have emotions anyway? Because I don't know if you're like me, you may sometimes feel like emotions are a hassle or you wish you just didn't have them because sometimes they can feel kind of intense or slow your day down. But emotions serve a lot of really critical functions, and a few of them are listed here. So emotions give us information, help us to understand what's happening in our experience in the world. Emotions help us to communicate. So for example, if I said to you, I had a really nice time at dinner last night, you might wonder what I was really thinking. But if I said, I had a really nice time at dinner last night, it's going to be more evident what I really thought and felt. And when we can communicate our emotions, we can connect better with people around us. And this last piece is emotions can motivate us to take action. So if you're feeling anxious, for example, about a presentation that you have to give, and you notice that anxiety, and you've recognized like, wow, there's some anxiety happening here. And then you take stock and you realize, I need to do some more preparation. And you use that anxiety to give you information, then you can help that to motivate you to take action and do something different. And then you take an opportunity to do that practice and get better prepared. But if we do what we often do with emotions, especially the uncomfortable ones, and you push it away, you say like, oh, I don't like feeling this fear, this anxiety. I'm just going to push it away. I'm going to leave it in the corner and pretend like it's not there. Then you don't have that opportunity to do something different so that the anxiety can go away because you haven't used that information to help you do something different. It didn't motivate you to make change. So that piece can be really critical. So some other things to know about emotions. Our bodies give us clues about what we're experiencing, what we're feeling. This is a little different for everyone. We experience emotions differently, all of us. But paying attention to our bodies can help us pay attention to our emotions. So noticing like, what is that feeling like for me? Not in a hypervigilant scanning kind of way, but just being more aware, like, oh, that's giving me some information that maybe this is what's actually happening. The other thing to know is that our thoughts often precede, or a thought often precedes an emotion. So having more awareness of our thoughts and being better able to just recognize thoughts as they arise can actually help us to regulate our emotions better. And we'll talk about that more in a minute. So I want to go over a framework that comes out of the work of a clinical psychologist named Dr. Tara Brach. And this framework really gives us some concrete tools to help us acknowledge our emotions. So Dr. Brach uses an acronym that's RAIN. And RAIN goes over several different steps. And we can use this in a discrete way. So if you're feeling an intense emotion, you can really just stop and practice this. And we'll practice this together in a minute. But you can also just use any of these pieces just to be more aware of emotions as they arise. So the first step of RAIN, the R, is to recognize. So just to notice and name the emotion. Just recognize that it's present. The A is about accepting. So acceptance is the opposite of saying this shouldn't be, I'm going to push it away. It's just letting it be. Accept that it's here. The I is to investigate or be curious about your emotion. So that may sound something like, oh, interesting, right? So I think that tone of voice can always be really helpful. Like, oh, just notice I'm feeling this. And then the N is to nurture, to be kind and nurturing to yourself for having the emotion. And I want to stop and mention that we can use all of these parts with thoughts as well. So if a thought comes up, we can just notice and name the thought, just to accept that it's there. Be curious about the thought. So if you have a thought that's, I'll never get this presentation done on time, you can just recognize that thought and kind of name it. Like, oh, wow, I just told myself I would never get this done. Be kind of curious about that. And then you may, in that case, step back and say, oh, now let's take a look at that. Is that actually true? And that noticing can really help make a difference in what work you may have to do next related to the emotion and RAIN. But so the key then, this last piece is so important with thoughts and emotions, but letting our thoughts and our emotions come and go like a wave. So we don't try to hold on to them, just like we can't keep water on the shore, and we don't try to push them away. We just let them be, come and go, flow in and out. And that not grasping onto or pushing away can make such a big difference for us and what we might experience. And so there's this phrase that I've learned. It's name it to tame it. I didn't make it up, but it's something that when we think about, like, okay, well, why do we do this work? Why do we acknowledge emotions? Being able to name our emotions actually helps to tame them. So rather than just ignoring them, hoping they'll go away, putting words to them helps the emotion to get smaller, less intense. And if you're curious about this, you can see there's some information here on this slide. Dr. Dan Siegel has a YouTube video that describes this process beautifully, describes the neurology behind this beautifully. So when we can tame our emotions, though, it can decrease our misery, can help us process our emotions on the go, kind of throughout the day, rather than waiting until we get hit with this avalanche at the end of the day. It also kind of helps us get a little bit of distance from our emotions. So rather than our emotions being us or feeling so intense, it can be something that we notice, this thing that also is happening to us or around us, that then we can make decisions about what we want to do. So now we're going to do some practice together. We're going to do some practice noticing sensations and thoughts, and some practice with rain. So we're first going to do some practice with being aware of our bodies, and then we're going to do some practice with our thoughts, and then we're going to practice with our emotions with rain. So let's start by taking a couple of breaths. So just notice the sensation of your breath in your body. You can keep your eyes open or closed, whatever is more comfortable for you. If you keep them open, kind of let them rest facing down. You can just listen to my voice. And now I want you to start by just noticing whatever sensations are present in your body. You don't have to go looking for them, just notice whatever's there. And if you don't really notice much, you can notice that, name that to yourself. But otherwise, you might name what you do notice, like tension in my shoulders, or my foot's falling asleep. And now, notice any thoughts that are coming up. Sometimes thoughts belong in a category like thoughts about what I'll do later today, or worry thoughts. Or you may have a thought like, what am I going to have for dinner? Just notice whatever comes up, name them, and then let them go. Be curious about those thoughts that do come up. And now we're going to shift to rain and practice those 4 steps with rain. So we're going to first start by recognizing whatever emotion that we're experiencing. And I want you not to necessarily go looking for an emotion if there's nothing currently present. So if what you notice is, well, I just feel content, that's an emotion. You can be aware of that. Or I just feel kind of neutral. You can be aware of that. But don't necessarily go mining for some kind of intense emotion to practice this with. There'll come other times that you can practice. Just feel whatever you're feeling. So you're going to start by recognizing the emotion, accept it and let it be present. So just here's this emotion that I'm feeling right now. Investigate or be curious. So, interesting. This emotion's here. Just let it be. And then nurture yourself as needed. Be kind to yourself for having that emotion. And you may notice whatever that emotion is, let it come, let it go, just like a wave on the ocean, a wave at the shore. And as you're ready, and if you need some more time with this, you can hit pause right now before we go over these takeaways. Or if you're ready to move on, then stick with us and we'll talk about the takeaways from this program. The key takeaways for today. It's better to acknowledge emotions than it is to stuff them. When we get better at self-calming and controlling how we take stress into our body and noticing what happens with stress in our bodies, we also are going to get better at noticing and naming our emotions. So this last piece is really important to remember. No matter how strong our emotions get, you are not your emotions. So you notice today we use language like, I notice I'm feeling, or, oh, this emotion is here, but not, I am this, because this isn't all of who we are. We are not that emotion. And your emotions don't have to control you or your actions or your thoughts or how you treat others. I really enjoyed spending time with you today talking about emotions and acknowledging emotions and how we can express our emotions and why we have emotions. I hope this has been helpful for you. These next couple of slides have information about our partners. And so I'm going to go through those and talk about them. And if you're curious and want to learn any more about any of us, there are some links on these slides and my resources are at the end. So our partners for this project, as a reminder, are Workwell Kansas, Turning Point, and my organization, the Masonic Cancer Alliance. And here are the references. I have some more information about the things we talked about today. Take good care.